America's largest cities are ticking time bombs. The problem lies in a power grid that's simply too old and can't keep up. Transformers already exceed their intended lifespan, and a growing population puts greater stress on a framework never meant to see the 21st century. New York City's infrastructure is among the oldest in the country, and experts say that if upgrades aren't made a priority, the results will be catastrophic, and not just here in the city, but worldwide. We witnessed just weeks ago how Hurricane Sandy brought the world's financial center and America's largest city to its knees. And experts tell us that multi-billion-dollar disaster pales in comparison to what could happen with a complete meltdown.
When you start having damage to the electrical transmission and distribution system, that's where it's catastrophic. Essentially, it's like a toaster. You start heating up the system to the point where equipment actually becomes damaged.
New York's electricity moves from power plants to transformers at a very high voltage. They transform it to a lower, more usable voltage that's then sent throughout the city. If a transformer or switchyard is taken out, the connection between the power plant and all the local lines is lost. This means no lights, but it also means no water or steam. That happened during Sandy with this explosion at the 14th Street switchyard.
There are hundreds of thousands of people that have no electricity, which in New York, because it's a vertical city, has no water. We've also seen the collapse of failure of the steam system.
The steam plants rely on Con Ed power to be able to operate the plant. Some have generators, but not all. So if they lose the steam plant in the summertime, it is difficult. A lot of customers are in trouble. If they lose it in the wintertime, it's significant because now you have major residential buildings that are all dependent upon steam.
New York's blackout from Sandy lasted for weeks. While much of the city pulled together, frustrations grew in other areas, leading to looting and chaos. Law enforcement officers fear a longer-term scenario.
There is such a thing as right and wrong, and there's such a thing as good and evil, and the evil will come out when the electric goes down. How long can you humanly stay on your feet when you're trying to evacuate a building, trying to evacuate the subway tunnels, trying to get injured to the hospital, and keeping an eye on those people that would take advantage of the ordinary person? Add to that the real threat of terrorists. The terrorists are amongst us. The minute we're preoccupied with getting someone from an elevator, emptying a subway train, all those other things, they will take advantage, and that's what they look for.
This is the Farragut switchyard. The electricity that comes through here powers the financial district and the New York City subway system. But it has minimal security and flimsy gates. And if it's this accessible to us, imagine how accessible it is to terrorists.
As horrible as 9/11 was to this nation and to the city, had the terrorists flown 2 planes into this facility, the consequences to New York City and to the nation would have been orders of magnitude more damaging than what actually happened.
Adam Victor of Transgas Developments took a potential infrastructure solution to city leaders back in 2001. A cogeneration plant able to keep up with 21st century technology.
This plant would be in a position, because of its location, to reinforce the electric grid and the steam grid. We'd be in a place where we could actually electrify the New York City subway tunnels. Our plant would have what's called black start capability, that even if the grid went down, our plant would stay up and running. We also decided to bury the plant, and on top of this plant, we were going to put a park.
Victor's plan would have used private investors to pay for the plant under a public-private partnership, and he says it would have been clean and green.
We would have cleaned up the land, we would have cleaned up the water, we would have cleaned up the air with this facility.
Victor maintains, however, that politics and a lack of local support led to a rejection of his plant in court. He adds that if his cogeneration plant had been in operation, it could have kept the lights on during Hurricane Sandy. So what's the holdup in fixing this aging system? CBN News spoke with former New York Governor George Pataki.
It costs money, and it's always hard for government to find money.
It might not be popular, and it certainly never is popular when you have an infrastructure project going near where someone lives or works. But you can't just focus on the issues of today. You also have to think about what the needs are tomorrow. And it's a balancing act. And some people can't do it. Very often, the future needs, the infrastructure needs are what's forgotten.
Victor says he will continue to fight with the hope that city and state leaders will get on board before it's too late.
All infrastructure that has ever been built has failed. And it's a matter of time. And older infrastructure, no matter how good, will eventually fail. And the sooner that we augment and reinforce this old infrastructure, the safer we will be to prevent that day of reckoning.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, New York, New York.